Your brain is not a static machine. It's not locked in by your past, your genetics, or your circumstances. It's a living, dynamic network, constantly adapting, constantly evolving. And within this network lies a power most people never access. A power that, when unlocked, reveals something extraordinary. Genius isn't born, it's built. Today, we're going beyond the cliches of motivation. We're going beyond self-help hacks and empty affirmations. This is about rewiring the very structure of your mind using the frontier science of quantum mechanics and the latest breakthroughs in neuroscience. This is about reshaping your reality from the inside out. This video is your introduction to Quantum Brain Rewiring, a transformational approach that combines consciousness studies, neuroplasticity, and quantum theory into a practical framework for unleashing your highest potential. Not metaphorically, not spiritually, but biologically, energetically, and cognitively. There's a hidden system governing how you think, how you feel, and how you act. And more importantly, how your external life reflects those inner patterns. Most people never question it. They live in loops, thought loops, emotional loops, outcome loops. They try to fix the symptoms, bad habits, limiting beliefs, poor decisions, without ever addressing the root architecture of the mind. You're here because you're not most people. You're here because you know something deeper is possible. In the next moments, you'll learn how your thoughts literally mold the structure of your brain, how intention interacts with the quantum field to shape probability, and how certain techniques, when practiced with awareness and consistency, can ignite abilities in your mind that feel like intuition, insight, and even genius. You'll understand how memory isn't a fixed record of the past, but a tool that can be reshaped to serve your future. You'll uncover how visualization rewires neural pathways, how belief systems filter your experience of reality, and how tapping into the right frequency of brainwave activity can unlock profound creativity and focus. This isn't wishful thinking or pseudoscience. This is real, grounded in research, and more importantly, ready to be applied. By the end of this journey, you'll have a working map of how to think, feel, and perceive in a way that radically expands what's possible in your life. Not by forcing change from the outside, but by triggering deep transformation from the inside. So get ready, because we're about to unlock the hidden blueprint of your mind, one that holds the potential not just to change how you think, but to transform who you are becoming. Let's begin. Your brain is not just an organ. It's an interface, a translator, a living network of billions of neurons that not only receive information but create it. And at the core of this system is something incredible: the realization that your thoughts are building the framework of your future. Every time you have a thought, your brain generates an electrical impulse. These impulses aren't isolated events. They travel through neural pathways like traffic moving across a city. The more frequently a thought is repeated, the more well-worn that neural route becomes. Like a dirt path that eventually becomes a paved highway. This is not abstract theory. It's known as neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to rewire itself based on what you consistently think, feel, and focus on. But here's where things get even more compelling. In quantum physics, there's a principle called the observer effect. It shows that particles behave differently when they are being observed. Observation alters reality. Consciousness influences what materializes. That's not speculation. It's demonstrated in controlled experiments. So when you apply this idea to your brain, what does it mean? It means that your awareness isn't passive. It means that the way you focus your thoughts, attention, and intention can influence not just your perception, but also the probability of outcomes you encounter in the external world. Let's get clear here. Your thoughts are not isolated, harmless flickers. They are builders. They construct frameworks. They reinforce behaviors, identity, beliefs, and ultimately, they sculpt reality itself. But most people aren't using their thoughts this way. Most people are stuck in default mode, repeating the same thought patterns every day, reacting to circumstances, looping on problems, operating from fear, doubt, and survival mode wiring. And their brain adapts to that loop. It reinforces it, makes it efficient, familiar, automatic. The good news is that this loop can be broken, not by forcing change, but by understanding the architecture that sustains it. Think of your mind as a city. There are neighborhoods, beliefs, habits, memories. There are roads, neural pathways connecting those areas. Some roads are clear, some are overused, some are abandoned, and some are waiting to be built. Every conscious thought you have either strengthens an old path or begins building a new one. Every repeated emotion acts like a construction crew, laying down new neural routes and fortifying them with chemicals like dopamine, serotonin, and cortisol. Now, combine that with the quantum understanding that attention alters the state of matter, and you begin to see the deeper picture. Your brain doesn't just reflect your life, it's helping create it. This is where most people underestimate their power. They think genius is a gift, something rare, unreachable. But genius is not fixed intelligence. It's the ability to build high-level patterns of thought that others miss. It's being able to hold multiple perspectives, solve problems creatively, and generate insights that cut through complexity. And that ability can be trained, can be installed, through consistent focus, through intentional disruption of old loops, through strengthening the internal architecture that supports clarity, insight, and adaptability. Here's the strategy. Start by identifying dominant thought loops. Notice the stories you repeat to yourself about who you are, what you can do, what you expect. Then introduce friction. Break those loops by interrupting them. You don't need to replace them all at once. You only need to become aware that they are optional. Next, use conscious repetition. Choose thoughts aligned with your desired reality. Not just affirmations, but statements backed with emotion and visualization. When you pair new thoughts with strong emotion, you increase the likelihood that your brain rewires around them. And finally, remain consistent. Neural rewiring doesn't happen from a single positive thought. It happens from sustained awareness, from showing your brain over and over again that the new path is the one you intend to take. So yes, your thoughts are building invisible structures. They are not random. They are not neutral. They are coding your internal operating system and projecting those patterns into your experience. When you begin to understand the hidden architecture of the mind, you stop being a passive thinker and start becoming a conscious creator. You stop living by reaction and start living by design. This is not easy, but it is possible. And once you grasp this foundation, you're ready to go even deeper, to explore how your mind interacts with something even greater. An energetic field that responds not to what you wish for, but to what you believe and embody. That's where we go next. Your mind is not isolated. It's not operating in a vacuum. It's part of a larger system, an invisible field that surrounds, permeates, and connects everything. This isn't philosophy, it's physics. The quantum field is a foundational concept in quantum theory. It refers to the underlying energy field in which all particles exist. But here's what makes it revolutionary. These particles don't have fixed properties until they're observed. They exist in a state of potential, possibility, probabilities waiting to be shaped. And this field isn't distant or abstract. You are inside of it, right now. So what does this have to do with your mind? Your thoughts carry frequency. Your emotions emit measurable electromagnetic signals. And your brain, especially when engaged with focused attention, is not just producing electrical energy, it's transmitting it, receiving it, and interacting with the quantum field in real time. Here's the truth most people miss. You are already influencing this field, constantly. But the signals you send are often weak, inconsistent, or scattered. One moment you're aligned with excitement and confidence. The next, you're consumed by fear or doubt. The field responds to both. Not your words, not your desires, but your frequency. And your frequency is determined by a combination of three things: your thoughts, your emotions, and your state of coherence. Coherence is the key. It's the alignment between your heart and brain, between what you think and what you feel. When you create coherence, meaning your thoughts and emotions are in agreement, you send out a powerful, unified signal. And that signal interacts with the quantum field to shape the probabilities of your experience. Let's break this down. When you think about a goal, but feel unworthy of achieving it, there's no coherence. The signal is scrambled. You're asking for one thing but emotionally broadcasting something else. The field doesn't respond to contradiction. It mirrors clarity. It responds to consistency. This is where intentional focus becomes more than just a mental exercise. It becomes a way of communicating with the deeper layers of reality. And when practiced regularly, it trains your brain and nervous system to exist in a higher state of order. That internal order, when stabilized, begins influencing external conditions. Think about how a tuning fork works. When it's struck, it vibrates. That vibration affects nearby objects tuned to the same frequency. This is resonance. In the same way, when your internal frequency matches a possibility in the field, you begin attracting the people, opportunities, and events aligned with that reality. Not because of magic, but because of energetic synchronization. But again, it's not about just wanting something. It's about embodying the emotional and mental signature of it before it arrives. Most people wait for success to feel successful. Wait for love to feel worthy. Wait for change before feeling peace. That's backwards. You feel it first. You become the signal. Let's go even further. The quantum field is not just energy, it's intelligent. It's ordered. It responds to intention the way a musical instrument responds to a skilled player. You don't control it, but you do influence it. And the degree to which you can hold coherent thoughts and emotions is the degree to which your influence becomes powerful. This isn't guesswork. There are now countless studies showing how meditation, focused intention, and elevated emotional states affect biology, brain patterns, and even the environment. Random number generators, plant growth, heart rate variability, all measurably influenced by the state of human consciousness. The implications are enormous. It means you're not just a thinker. You're a participant in a vast web of interconnection. And every moment is an opportunity to consciously engage with it. Here's how to begin training your mind to interact with the quantum field with intention. Clarity of vision. Define exactly what you want. Not just generally, but with sensory detail. See it, hear it, feel it, not as something far away, but as something already alive in your internal world. Emotional signature. Anchor that vision with emotion. Not desperation or longing, but gratitude, fulfillment, joy. Those are high-frequency emotions that create coherence. Mental rehearsal. Practice it. In your mind. Not once, but daily. Repetition conditions the brain. It starts building the neural framework that supports that experience. And when paired with emotion, it sends a signal to the field. Stronger, clearer, more aligned. Let go of the how. The field doesn't need micromanaging. Your job is not to force the outcome, but to stay in alignment with the frequency. That's what keeps the signal strong. That's what opens new pathways. Now let's address something important. Doubt. Doubt is not just a thought, it's a frequency. And it's one of the most disruptive forces to coherence. When you let doubt take root, you don't just weaken the signal, you change it. The field begins responding to uncertainty instead of vision. So your role is not to be perfect, but to be aware. Catch the doubt early. Shift your focus. Reinforce the vision. Remember, this isn't about believing blindly. It's about becoming intentional. It's about training your brain to think in alignment with possibility and potential, and training your emotional body to support that alignment. Over time, something remarkable happens. You begin noticing changes, small synchronicities, unexpected breakthroughs, subtle shifts in behavior. These are not coincidences. They are responses, feedback from the field, indicators that the signal is working. And that feedback loop becomes a generator. You start trusting the process. You stop waiting for proof, because you realize that your internal state is the proof. It's the foundation. And when that's aligned, the external begins to mirror it. This is the essence of quantum brain rewiring. You're not just rewiring neurons. You're rewriting your interface with reality itself. You're no longer a passive observer. You're an energetic influence, shaping probability into form, with thought, with emotion, with clarity. And it's only the beginning, because now that you understand the power of the field, it's time to examine the signal your brain is sending into it. The frequency, the pattern, the invisible broadcast that's happening all day, every day, without most people even realizing it. Your brainwaves are the key. That's where we go next. Your brain never stops broadcasting. Every second, it's sending out electrical patterns, rhythms, frequencies. These aren't just signals, they're blueprints. And those blueprints determine how you perceive reality, how you feel about it, and what you're able to access within yourself. This is where we start to uncover one of the most overlooked keys to unlocking inner genius, your brainwave states. Now let's cut through the noise. This isn't about mystical speculation or surface-level hacks. This is measurable, observable. Every mental state, from deep sleep to peak flow, is tied to specific frequencies your brain produces. Understanding how these frequencies work is like finding the remote control to your own consciousness. There are 5 primary categories of brainwave activity: beta, alpha, theta, delta, and gamma. Each one represents a different level of awareness and possibility, and each one holds unique potential for rewiring your mind. Let's start with beta. This is the brainwave state you're in most of the day. Focused, logical, problem-solving, but also often stressed, reactive, and caught in the noise of external demands. When you're stuck in high beta, your brain is locked in survival mode. And while that might help you meet a deadline, it doesn't support creative thinking or deeper awareness. The next layer is alpha. This is the bridge. You enter alpha when you're relaxed, reflective, and present. Think of that calm awareness you feel when you're walking in nature or just before you fall asleep. Alpha is the gateway to your subconscious. It opens the door to imagination, creativity, and focused visualization. When you're in alpha, you're not reacting, you're receiving. Then comes theta. This is a deeper, slower frequency. You access it in meditation, in the moments just before sleep, or during deeply immersive states. Theta is where your subconscious mind becomes most accessible. It's where old patterns can be rewritten. Memories can be reframed. It's also the space where intuition becomes clear, not as a voice, but as a knowing. A calm, grounded signal that bypasses mental noise. Even deeper is delta. This is the slowest frequency, associated with deep, dreamless sleep. But don't dismiss it. In delta, your body regenerates. Your brain restores. This is when the subconscious does its most profound repair work. Learning how to optimize delta through proper sleep and recovery is crucial to supporting any kind of rewiring process. And then there's gamma, the highest frequency state. This one's different. Gamma is linked to moments of insight, heightened awareness, deep compassion, and even spiritual connection. People who spend time in gamma often describe being fully present, laser-focused, and able to see patterns others miss. It's not just about speed, it's about integration. Gamma represents the full orchestra of your brain working in harmony. Now here's the breakthrough idea. You're not limited to one of these states at a time. Your brain is capable of shifting between them deliberately. And with practice, you can train yourself to move from beta to alpha, alpha to theta, and eventually access gamma intentionally. That's the skill. That's the doorway to advanced consciousness. And once you learn how to shift these frequencies, you're not just thinking differently, you're opening new dimensions of thought. Because here's what most people never realize. Your brainwave state doesn't just determine your mood. It determines what kind of information you can access. Each frequency acts like a tuner, locking you into a specific layer of perception. When you're in beta, you're locked into the material world, linear time, logic, and immediate surroundings. When you move into alpha and theta, you unlock nonlinear awareness, symbolic thinking, emotional memory, intuitive insights. You're not thinking in a straight line anymore. You're thinking across dimensions. This is why people report sudden breakthroughs during meditation. Why ideas come out of nowhere in the shower or right before sleep. It's not random. It's frequency access. When your brain slows down, it starts syncing with patterns outside the usual noise. It starts receiving from the field. Now let's make this practical. How do you start shifting your brainwaves? First, eliminate overstimulation. Constant scrolling, background noise, multitasking. These trap your brain in chaotic beta. Begin carving out moments of stillness. Even 5 minutes of focused breathing can begin lowering the frequency. Second, introduce rhythm. Your brain loves rhythm. Binaural beats, drumming, chanting, these can all help guide brainwave states. You don't need to rely on them forever, but they help train the shift. And over time, your brain begins to associate certain cues with certain frequencies. Third, visualization. When you close your eyes and engage all your senses in a mental scenario, you begin bridging alpha and theta. This is where deep rewiring becomes possible. Not because you're forcing change, but because you're accessing the layer where change originates. Fourth, meditative focus. You don't need to empty your mind. You just need to observe it. The moment you stop reacting and start witnessing your thoughts, you change the frequency. The shift from beta to alpha begins. And with practice, you learn to hold that state longer. Fifth, conscious sleep cycles. Optimize your rest. Deep sleep is not a luxury. It's a foundation. Protect your sleep environment. Minimize light and noise. Allow your brain to spend more time in delta, so it can recalibrate, process, and consolidate everything you're working on. Now here's where it all comes together. Each brainwave state has value. The goal isn't to escape beta and live in theta forever. The goal is fluidity, the ability to move between these states based on what your situation demands. Creative problem solving, shift to alpha. Deep emotional integration, theta. Laser focus on a task, beta. Strategic vision, gamma. This fluidity is the hallmark of genius. It's not about high IQ. It's about pattern access, multi-layered awareness, the ability to process complexity without being overwhelmed by it. That's not something you're born with. It's something you can train. So the next time you're stuck in a loop, feeling reactive, anxious, unfocused, don't fight it. Don't try to think your way out. Shift your frequency. Guide your brain. The change doesn't start with action. It starts with access. And once you master that access, you're ready for the next leap. Because now that you understand how to enter the right frequency, you can begin consciously rewiring reality itself. That's where we go next. There's a process happening in your brain every time you think about the future. Neurons fire. Chemicals are released. Neural pathways are activated. But here's the part most people overlook. Your brain doesn't know the difference between what you vividly imagine and what you physically experience. Let that settle. Because this isn't just fascinating. It's a doorway to transformation. When you visualize something clearly and with emotion, your brain responds as if it's happening now. It begins activating the same circuits, the same patterns, the same biological responses that would occur if the event were real. This means that visualization isn't just fantasy. It's a rehearsal, a simulation, and more than that, it's rewiring your brain in real time. Let's strip away the hype and break this down neurologically. Your brain is made up of networks, clusters of neurons that fire together to create perceptions, behaviors, and habits. The more a specific network is activated, the stronger it becomes. This is the foundation of all learning, all memory, all identity. Visualization works by intentionally activating new networks. You're not just thinking about something, you're creating a sensory-rich experience internally. When done properly, this process creates new neural maps, new electrical pathways, and over time, these become the default operating patterns for your brain. That's not theory. It's confirmed by functional MRI scans and EEG data. Athletes, musicians, surgeons, and high performers have used this for decades. But where it becomes truly powerful is when you apply it not just to skills but to states of being. You can visualize not just events but emotions, not just outcomes but identities. You can literally rehearse being your future self. Here's how it works. First, choose a clear outcome. Not vague, not distant. Be precise. Your brain needs specificity. What does the version of you with full confidence feel like? What is their posture? How do they speak? What kind of decisions are they making? What is their energy like when they walk into a room? Now engage all your senses. Feel the temperature of the room. Hear the sounds in the environment. Notice textures, colors, smells. The more sensory input you create in the mind, the more real it becomes to the brain. And the more real it becomes, the stronger the neural activation. Next, attach emotion. This is critical. Emotion is the glue of neural learning. It's what tells your brain, this matters. When you visualize with flat emotion, it's like sketching in pencil. When you visualize with deep feeling, gratitude, joy, freedom, it's like etching with a laser. The brain encodes it and begins preparing to recreate it in waking life. Here's where it gets quantum. As you visualize with emotion, your coherent thought and feeling become a broadcast signal into the field. You're not just changing your brain. You're signaling a new intention to the deeper layer of reality. And when that signal is held consistently, it begins to shape probability. But let's be clear, this is not wishful thinking. This is not about hoping or pretending. This is about training your biology to match a new frequency. You're aligning your nervous system with the state of being required to produce the reality you want. Because here's the truth. Your external world reflects your internal conditioning, not your desires, not your affirmations, but your conditioning, your dominant thought and emotion patterns. Visualization works because it gives you the tool to change that conditioning deliberately. Let's address a common misconception. People often visualize a goal and expect immediate results. When it doesn't happen, they give up. But that's like doing one workout and expecting a new body. The key isn't intensity, it's consistency. Every time you visualize, you're reinforcing a signal, strengthening a path, and weakening the old one. You're not trying to force the new reality. You're teaching your body and brain to expect it, to feel safe in it, to normalize it. And once it feels normal internally, it starts showing up externally. Here's a simple framework to use consistently. 1. Prime the mind. Before you visualize, bring yourself to a relaxed, receptive state. Use breath. Use stillness. Shift into alpha or theta frequencies, where the subconscious becomes most impressionable. 2. See with specificity. Craft your internal scene with clarity. Choose a moment in your ideal future and step into it fully. See through your own eyes. Don't just watch yourself, be yourself. 3. Feel with intensity. Match your scene with elevated emotion. Feel what it would feel like if this moment were happening right now. Let the emotion saturate the image. 4. Stay in it. Hold the vision. Don't rush. Linger in the details. The longer you stay, the deeper the neural reinforcement. Make the experience rich, vivid, and alive. 5. Release. When you're done, don't analyze or obsess. Let go with trust. You've sent the signal. Now live in alignment with it. Take actions that match the identity you rehearsed. Now, why does this matter for genius? Because genius isn't just about intellect. It's about pattern recognition, about tuning into ideas, connections, and perspectives others can't see. And that tuning happens in altered states. Visualization is your gateway to those states. It increases neural complexity. It boosts synaptic activity. It builds the mental muscle required for high-level insight. You're not just changing what you think, you're changing how you think. You're training your brain to operate from the perspective of your higher self, not your history. From intention, not reaction. Let's bring it back full circle. You've already learned how thought builds structure. You've seen how brainwave states influence perception. Now, with visualization, you have a method to embed new experiences into your nervous system before they happen. You stop waiting for change to feel different. You feel different, and the change begins to unfold. And as those inner rehearsals become more powerful, you're no longer just preparing for a better future. You're shifting timelines. You're aligning with parallel versions of yourself who already live the life your current self desires. And that's where we go next. There isn't one fixed version of you. That idea that you're a single, unchangeable personality living one linear life is an outdated illusion. In reality, your mind is already wired to access countless versions of yourself, each with different decisions, different identities, different outcomes. And this isn't just philosophy. It's quantum theory intersecting with the mechanics of consciousness. In the quantum world, particles don't follow a single path. They exist in multiple states at once. This concept, known as superposition, means that until observed, a particle holds all possibilities simultaneously. When applied to you, it opens a radical possibility. Every version of your life, every decision, every outcome already exists as a potential in the quantum field. Your brain doesn't create reality from scratch. It tunes into frequencies. Each thought, each emotion, each expectation is like a dial. And depending on where you set that dial, you start tuning into a corresponding version of your reality. This is where the idea of parallel selves becomes practical. You're not stuck. You're not bound by your past. Right now, there is a version of you who made different choices, who overcame the limits you're struggling with, who lives with clarity, success, confidence, and alignment. That version of you isn't far away. It's a frequency shift away. Let's make this concrete. Every time you think a thought, you align with a version of yourself. If you wake up and think, this day is going to be stressful, your body begins to match that timeline. Your posture shifts. Your tone of voice changes. Your attention filters for problems. You're not predicting stress. You're tuning into the version of the day where stress is the dominant theme. But that's not the only version available. There's another you, one who wakes up with a sense of possibility. One who handles challenges with grace. One who's creative, calm, and energized. That version is just as real. And when you begin matching the frequency of that identity, you start living that reality. This isn't about denying facts. It's about choosing alignment. The facts you focus on become the world you reinforce. This is why the concept of a multiverse isn't just for science fiction. It's a practical model for transforming your life. You are constantly shifting timelines based on the thoughts, feelings, and actions you allow to dominate. So how do you begin accessing your multiverse mind? You start by recognizing that every identity is a construct. You are not your story. You are not your habits. You are the awareness behind them, and that awareness can shift focus. Here's a framework to train that shift. 1. Identify the current self. Get clear on your default patterns. What thoughts dominate your inner world? What emotional states repeat most often? What decisions are being made from those states? This isn't judgment, it's data. You're observing the current frequency. 2. Define the next level self. This isn't fantasy, it's precision. Who is the version of you that's already operating at your highest potential? What are their beliefs? How do they respond to stress? What habits do they follow daily? Write it, speak it, feel it. 3. Bridge the gap. Here's where quantum logic kicks in. You don't have to change everything at once. You only need to start making decisions from the mindset of that version. One choice at a time. One shift in behavior. Each alignment is a signal, a broadcast that says, I am tuning into this timeline. 4. Collapse the delay. The mind expects change to take time. But in the quantum model, time is not linear. Identity shifts don't require long processes. They require coherence. When you consistently think, feel, and act in alignment with a new identity, your biology follows. Your brain rewires. The external world begins to mirror the internal reality. Now let's address a common challenge. Resistance. When you begin to shift identities, your current self will resist. Not because it wants you to fail, but because it's programmed for familiarity. It doesn't recognize the new frequency yet. This is not a problem. It's a signal. Resistance means you're moving beyond your default timeline. You don't need to fight resistance. You need to observe it and choose anyway. The more you choose from your future self, the more familiar it becomes. And eventually, the old identity no longer holds the same charge. This is how you shift into a parallel version of yourself. Not through wishful thinking, through consistent alignment. Here's something powerful. Once you understand this principle, you no longer fear change. You no longer cling to a fixed sense of identity. You realize that you can navigate versions of yourself deliberately, with awareness, with precision, and with integrity. Now let's take this a step further. Just as your thoughts tune you into timelines, your environment reflects your dominant frequency. The people you attract, the opportunities you notice, even the challenges you face, they're all connected to the version of you that's showing up. So if your life feels repetitive, It's not because options don't exist. It's because your tuning hasn't changed. Your thoughts are generating the same signal, and the field is returning the same experience. Here's how to break that loop. Start acting as if the version of you you're aiming for is already here. How would that version walk? Speak? Handle setbacks? What would they believe about themselves? Begin integrating those behaviors now, not someday. Now, this sends a coherent signal into the field. A signal that says, "This is who I am." And the quantum field responds to identity, not desire. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you embody. And that's the real power of your multiverse mind. You're not creating from nothing. You're selecting from what already exists, choosing timelines through alignment, selecting futures through thought, emotion, and action. You become a conscious navigator, not just of your mind, but of your entire reality. And the better you get at accessing these versions of yourself, the more fluid your transformation becomes. Identity becomes less rigid. Growth becomes less painful. You're no longer stuck trying to become something. You're tuning into what already is. Your inner genius is already out there. A version of you is already living with it, thinking with it, expressing it. Your job isn't to invent it. Your job is to access it. And to access it, you must master the timeline you're choosing to live in. That power is always in your hands. Now it's time to go even deeper into one of the most misunderstood forces in human experience, your past. Because the past isn't fixed either. And the ability to reshape it may be the key to your next breakthrough. The past is not set in stone. It's not a film reel you rewind and watch the same way every time. It's fluid. It changes each time you access it. And here's the shocking part, your brain is designed to edit memory, not preserve it. What you remember is not what happened. It's what your brain constructed about what happened. This is not a flaw. This is a feature. And once you understand it, you can start using memory as a tool, not just a reference. Here's how it works. Every time you recall a memory, your brain doesn't pull up a perfect recording. It rebuilds the experience from scratch, reassembling emotions, sensory details, and interpretations. That process is called reconsolidation. And during reconsolidation, the memory becomes temporarily malleable. This means that the moment you recall a memory, you have a window of opportunity to reshape how your brain encodes it. You can introduce new interpretations. You can release emotional charges. You can create a new narrative, and the brain will treat it as the new default. Let's be clear. You're not erasing facts. You're shifting the emotional and psychological meaning you've attached to those facts. And that shift creates a cascade of changes. Your identity, your beliefs, your behaviors, they're all built on those meanings. Think of your mind like a movie studio. The raw footage is your experience. The editing room is your subconscious. The story you tell, the version you replay, is what shapes who you think you are. When most people think about transformation, they try to force change in the present. But the present is often held hostage by a past that's been misfiled, misunderstood, and overloaded with emotional charge. Until you change the way your brain stores and references those memories, you'll keep repeating the same reactions, the same patterns, the same limitations. So how do you start reprogramming the past? You begin by recognizing that your memories are not sacred, they're strategic. They exist to help you learn, evolve, and adapt. When a memory no longer serves your growth, it's your right to edit it. Start with a memory that still triggers a strong emotional response. Not to relive it, but to understand how it's shaped your current self. Ask yourself, what meaning did I attach to this? What belief did I take away from it? What decisions did I start making because of it? Often, those beliefs are subtle. I'm not good enough. People can't be trusted. Success leads to pain. They don't sound like full thoughts. They feel like emotional truths. But they are learned, and what's learned can be unlearned. Once you've identified the belief, shift into a relaxed, focused state. You need your brain to move out of beta and into alpha or theta. This opens access to the subconscious where the original programming lives. Now revisit the memory. But don't just relive it. Watch it from a new vantage point, like an editor reviewing footage. You're not inside the moment, you're outside of it with awareness. Here's where the shift begins. Introduce a new meaning. What did you gain from that experience? What strengths did it call out in you? What limiting belief did it reveal so that now you can heal it? Add new elements to the scene if needed. Imagine your present self walking into that memory, offering guidance, giving your younger self what they needed: support, protection, perspective. And most importantly, release the emotional charge. Breathe through it. Let it move. As the emotion fades, your brain begins building a new neural network around that event. One that doesn't trigger pain but generates peace. This is not pretending. This is reconstruction. Your mind already does this unconsciously. You're simply making it conscious. You're using the brain's natural editing system with intention. There's more. As you rewire your relationship to the past, you begin creating neural space for new possibilities. Old memories that once acted like anchors now become platforms. Instead of dragging your identity backward, they now support your forward growth. And here's the quantum layer. Just as the field responds to coherent thoughts and emotions about the future, it also responds to healed interpretations of the past. The emotional residue you carry isn't just internal, it projects into the field. And when that residue is cleared, you shift your frequency entirely. This is why people experience breakthroughs after inner child work, forgiveness rituals, or trauma processing. It's not just therapeutic, it's electromagnetic. You stop broadcasting the signal of the wounded self and begin embodying the signal of the empowered self. Now let's go even deeper. Reprogramming memory also means installing new ones. That's right. You can create experiences in the mind that your brain treats as real. This isn't delusion, it's neural reality. When you visualize a powerful past, one where you were supported, successful, or courageous, your brain encodes that memory as usable data. This is called imprinting, and it's one of the fastest ways to shift identity. You're not faking anything. You're filling in gaps, giving your nervous system the signals it missed, creating reference points that guide new behaviors. When your brain believes you've already overcome, already triumphed, already succeeded, then future challenges no longer activate fear. They activate competence, confidence, readiness. Here's a powerful protocol. Select an old memory that triggers contraction. Not to relive it, but to revise it. Access a receptive brain state, alpha or theta. Use breath. Use sound. Use stillness. Observe the memory like a scene. Notice what's said, what's felt, what's missing. Introduce your empowered self into the memory. Speak the words that were never said. Offer the protection that wasn't there. Shift the outcome. Install a new memory alongside the revised one. One where you succeeded. One where you felt free. Vivid, emotional, detailed. Anchor the shift with emotion and repetition. The brain needs to feel it to believe it, and it needs to experience it more than once to make it familiar. Now watch what happens in your real life. You start reacting differently to triggers. You feel calmer in familiar stress situations. You don't shrink in the face of doubt, you expand. Not because the world changed, but because your internal blueprint did. That's the power of memory reprogramming. You reclaim authorship. You stop being the victim of past edits and become the editor-in-chief. And once your past is no longer holding you hostage, you free up an enormous amount of energy. Energy that can now be directed toward belief building, the next level of transformation where your inner operating system gets upgraded completely. That's where we go next. Beliefs are not opinions. They are not preferences. They are the architecture of your reality. Every perception, every decision, every response you make is filtered through the lens of what you believe to be true. Not about the world, but about yourself. And here's the thing. Most of your beliefs were installed without your permission. They came from childhood impressions, cultural conditioning, repetitive experiences, moments of emotion that locked certain conclusions into place, whether or not those conclusions were accurate. Over time, those conclusions became assumptions. Assumptions became identity, and identity became your world. Belief isn't something you hold. It's something that holds you. But here's the shift. Beliefs are not permanent. They are not laws of nature. They are mental agreements, and what's been agreed upon can be renegotiated. Your brain is not loyal to truth, it's loyal to familiarity. If you've told yourself for years that I'm not creative or success is for other people, your mind won't argue. It will build neural pathways that support those ideas. It will delete data that contradicts them. It will look for proof to reinforce them. This is called confirmation bias, your brain scanning reality for evidence that matches what you already believe. But that bias works both ways. When you introduce a new belief with enough clarity and emotion, your brain begins looking for new evidence. It starts restructuring how it processes reality. What once seemed impossible starts to feel normal. What once triggered fear starts to activate potential. Let's go even deeper. A belief is not just a thought, it's a neurological pattern. It's a network of neurons firing in synchrony, reinforced by repetition and emotion. When you believe something, it lights up specific circuits in the brain. And the stronger the belief, the more dominant that circuit becomes. But no matter how strong a belief is, it's still just a pattern. And like any pattern, it can be disrupted. That's what belief alchemy is, the conscious transformation of one mental framework into another. Not by force, not by blind affirmation, but by using the tools of awareness, emotion, and repetition to rewire your mental architecture. Here's how the process works. Step 1. Isolate the limiting belief. You can't change what you haven't identified. Look at the area of life where you feel stuck. Then ask, what must I believe to keep experiencing this result? Be honest. Let the belief surface without censorship. It might sound irrational. It might feel painful. But clarity is power. Step 2. Trace the origin. Where did this belief begin? Was it modeled by a parent? Triggered by a specific event? Installed by a moment of humiliation or fear? You're not doing this to blame, you're doing this to reveal the roots. Because when you understand how the belief formed, you stop mistaking it for a fact. Step 3. Feel the cost. Most people try to change beliefs intellectually, but beliefs are emotional. You need to connect with the cost. What has this belief stolen from you? How has it shaped your decisions, your energy, your relationships? Let the impact sink in. Step 4. Choose the upgrade. Now select the empowering belief that counteracts the old one. But here's the key, it has to feel possible. Not just aspirational. Your brain resists what it perceives as false. So instead of jumping from, I'm a failure to, I'm a millionaire, you might start with, I'm learning how to build success step by step. Build a ladder of belief. Step 5. Reinforce with emotion and repetition. This is where the rewiring happens. You repeat the new belief daily, not robotically but emotionally. Say it out loud. Write it. Visualize it. Most importantly, feel it. Every time you feel the belief as real, you strengthen the neural pathway. You carve it deeper into your identity. Here's the quantum layer. Beliefs don't just shape your mind. They shape your signal. The energy you emit into the field is a direct reflection of your dominant beliefs. If you believe you're unsafe, unworthy, or invisible, your electromagnetic field reflects it. The field around you responds accordingly, mirroring situations that validate those beliefs. But when you shift the belief, you shift the broadcast. You're no longer transmitting from fear. You're transmitting from truth. And that signal draws in people, ideas, and opportunities that match your upgraded frequency. Now let's address resistance. When you begin changing core beliefs, your subconscious may push back. Not because it hates you, but because it's programmed for survival. And survival favors the familiar. So don't panic when doubts surface. Don't quit when the old pattern tries to reassert itself. That's normal. That's feedback. That's the old identity dying. Your role is to stay consistent. Every time you return to the new belief, you weaken the grip of the old one. Over time, the emotional charge fades. The new belief becomes default, and your reality reorganizes to match it. This is how lasting change occurs, not by willpower alone, but by identity shift. When you no longer believe you're broken, you stop acting like it. When you believe you're worthy, you stop settling. When you believe you're capable, you start taking bold action. Not out of effort, but out of alignment. Let's bring this home with an essential truth. Every belief you hold is like a lens, and that lens affects what you see, what you feel, and what you create. Change the lens and you change everything. Not because the world changed, but because you changed the way you interpret and interact with it. Your inner genius is not hiding. It's just being filtered through outdated beliefs. Peel those filters away, and what's underneath is not broken. It's brilliant. Belief alchemy isn't a trick. It's a responsibility. You are not responsible for the beliefs you were given, but you are responsible for the ones you continue to reinforce. Choose wisely, choose courageously, and choose again every day until the truth you want to live becomes the only one you know. And once those beliefs are aligned, you'll start to notice something else. Something remarkable. Coincidences, patterns, meaningful moments that seem too perfect to be random. They're not. They're feedback. And that feedback is the language of the quantum field. That's what we explore next. Something unexpected happens when you begin thinking differently, feeling differently, and believing differently. Patterns emerge. Moments line up. You meet the right person at the right time. A book falls off a shelf with the exact message you needed. A solution appears just after you stop trying to force it. These are not coincidences. They are synchronicities, and they're a measurable part of your interaction with the field of possibility. Let's be precise. A synchronicity is not just a lucky event. It's a meaningful coincidence with no causal link, an alignment between your inner world and the outer environment. And it acts as confirmation, a signal that your internal frequency is beginning to harmonize with the quantum field. Most people dismiss these moments as random. They chalk them up to chance. But when synchronicity becomes a pattern, it's no longer randomness. It's resonance. It's the universe responding to coherence. Here's what's happening on a deeper level. The quantum field contains all probabilities, every outcome, every version of reality. But those probabilities don't manifest equally. They organize themselves based on attraction, alignment, vibration. When your thoughts are scattered, your emotions inconsistent, and your beliefs conflicted, your energetic signal is chaotic. The field has nothing clear to respond to. But when you reach a state of internal alignment, when your thoughts, emotions, and actions are coherent, the field starts organizing around your signal. Synchronicity is the field's way of saying, you're on the path, keep going. But there's a deeper layer. Your brain plays a crucial role in this process. Specifically, a system called the reticular activating system, RAS. The RAS acts as a filter for your perception. Out of the millions of pieces of information you're exposed to every second, the RAS decides what gets through. And what does it use to make that decision? Your beliefs, your intentions, your dominant thoughts. So when you start focusing your energy on growth, healing, or abundance, the RAS begins tuning into opportunities, people, and messages that match that focus. You didn't attract them from thin air, you finally noticed what was already there. You were just blind to it before. This is how internal change becomes external evidence. You shift your perception, and reality shifts to match. Let's go further. The presence of synchronicity is also an indicator of heart-brain coherence, a state where your emotional and mental energy are in harmony. Studies show that when you achieve this coherence, your electromagnetic field expands, your nervous system stabilizes, and your intuitive accuracy increases. In that state, you stop forcing outcomes. You start receiving them. You don't chase synchronicity. You become a magnet for it. Let's make this practical. Here's how to increase synchronicity in your life, not by wishing for it, but by cultivating the state that attracts it. 1. Set a precise intention. Don't just want change or clarity. Be exact. What outcome do you want to align with? What frequency do you want to embody? Define the signal before you send it. 2. Shift into coherence. Use your breath to calm your body. Focus on gratitude, compassion, or joy, emotions that open the heart and relax the mind. When you feel centered, your signal sharpens. 3. Live as if it's happening. Carry the energy of your intention into your actions. Don't wait for the result to arrive before you act aligned. The more you embody it, the more real it becomes. 4. Notice the feedback. Watch your environment. Stay alert for moments that feel timely, symbolic, or significant. They may not be loud. Often, synchronicity whispers, but when you notice it, you amplify it. 5. Acknowledge the patterns. The moment you say, "That's just coincidence," you weaken the connection. The moment you say, "That's alignment," you strengthen it. Language matters. Belief matters. Attention matters. Let's clarify something. Synchronicity is not about control. You can't manufacture it on demand. You can only become available to it. And the way you become available is by raising your frequency and trusting the intelligence of the field. That trust is essential, because sometimes synchronicity doesn't look like a gift. It looks like a challenge, a delay, a closed door. But in the broader context, those moments are also part of the pattern. They reroute you. They sharpen your clarity. They strip away what's not aligned so you can receive what is. When you begin to see every experience as part of a larger coordination, you stop reacting and start listening. You stop trying to manipulate the path and start following the signal. There's another benefit to synchronicity. It reinforces your belief system. When the outside world starts reflecting your inner transformation, your subconscious receives confirmation. That creates a feedback loop. More belief creates more coherence. More coherence creates more synchronicity. And the cycle continues. This feedback loop is how deep rewiring becomes permanent. It's how change moves from mental concept to lived experience. But let's be clear, synchronicity is not the goal. It's the byproduct. The goal is coherence, integrity, alignment with your chosen identity. When that alignment is strong, your actions gain power. Your choices gain momentum. Your presence becomes magnetic. And synchronicity becomes a natural side effect. Let's ground this in one truth. The universe isn't random. Your life is not a series of disconnected events. Everything is connected. And when your inner world stabilizes, the outer world begins speaking to you. Not in words, but in timing, symbols, and flow. You don't need to force success. You need to become compatible with it. That compatibility is energetic. And synchronicity is your evidence. So the next time life lines up perfectly, the phone call at the right time, the quote that answers your question, the stranger who says what you were just thinking, don't dismiss it. Recognize it. Say it silently. That's the signal. I'm aligned. And then keep going. Because you're no longer guessing. You're receiving. You're no longer chasing. You're syncing. You're no longer asking for proof. You are the proof. And now that you've learned how to recognize and amplify synchronicity, it's time to learn how to turn your mental energy into the most powerful code you've ever used. To design your reality. That's where we go next. Your mind is not just a processor. It's a programmer. It's constantly sending instructions not only to your body, but into the quantum field. Those instructions aren't in the form of sentences. They're in the form of energy encoded through thought, emotion, and belief. This is mental coding. And when done consciously, it becomes the foundation of manifestation. Forget everything you've heard about wishful thinking and vague affirmations. Manifestation isn't about sitting still and hoping. It's about directing your brain and body to embody the outcome before it happens, until the outcome has no choice but to show up in your reality. Let's start with how this works. Every thought you think emits a frequency. Every emotion you feel modifies that frequency. When your thoughts and emotions are coherent, they form a pattern, a code. That code gets transmitted into the quantum field. The field, in turn, organizes around the dominant signal you're broadcasting. So manifestation is not asking the universe to deliver something. It's tuning yourself to the frequency of the version of you who already has it. Here's the problem. Most people try to manifest from contradiction. They visualize abundance while feeling unworthy. They think about love while fearing rejection. They set goals while assuming they'll fail. That mixed signal confuses the field. The code is garbled, and the outcome reflects that confusion. But when your thoughts, emotions, and identity are aligned, your code becomes clear, clean, powerful, And in that clarity, the field responds. So how do you begin coding your reality with precision? You start with intention. Intention is more than a goal. It's a directive, a decision to align your internal state with a specific outcome. An intention isn't a wish, it's a mental blueprint. And when infused with emotion and repetition, it becomes the operating system of your consciousness. Start by choosing a clear intention. Not, I want more money. That's too vague. Choose, I'm building a thriving business that energizes and supports me. Not, I want to be confident. Choose, I express my ideas with clarity and impact in every conversation. Once the intention is clear, it needs to be coded into the mind. Here's the framework. 1. Thought encoding. State the intention clearly, repeatedly, and with certainty. Use language that reflects it as now, not someday. The brain doesn't code, I want. It codes, I am. 2. Emotional amplification. Emotion is the power source. You must feel the intention as if it's already real. Gratitude, joy, pride, peace. These are high-frequency emotions that burn the code into your neurology. 3. Identity integration. Act like the version of you who lives that reality. Change how you move, how you speak, how you respond to challenges. Your nervous system listens to behavior. Every time you act in alignment, the code becomes more stable. 4. Sensory visualization. Use your imagination to simulate the outcome in full detail. Make it sensory-rich. What are you hearing, seeing, touching? Your brain wires reality through sensory feedback. 5. Repetition over time. The brain doesn't respond to single inputs. It responds to patterns. The more consistently you repeat the mental code, the more dominant it becomes. Eventually, it replaces the old program entirely. This is the science of manifestation, not magic, not luck, but mental coherence applied over time. Let's talk about resistance. Your current reality is the byproduct of your current mental code. When you introduce a new code, the old one doesn't disappear without a response. Resistance will show up not to punish you, but to test the strength of your alignment. When resistance comes, don't retreat. Don't question your vision. Instead, reinforce the code. Say the intention again. Feel the emotion again. Align your behavior again. Every time you do, you prove to your brain and the field that you're serious. That consistency is what separates theory from transformation. Now let's explore the deeper level. The most powerful mental codes aren't about objects. They're about states of being. You don't manifest money. You manifest the version of you who is creative, resourceful, and aligned with abundance. You don't manifest love. You manifest the version of you who is open, whole, and deeply worthy. Focus on becoming, not getting. That's where real power lies. When your identity shifts, your outcomes follow, not the other way around. Here's where quantum mechanics intersects. In the quantum field, there are infinite versions of you. Each one exists as a potential. The code you run determines which version you access. So every time you think in alignment with your vision, you're activating that potential. You're tuning your consciousness to match that reality. And the field, being responsive, begins reflecting that version back to you. Let's get more specific. Your subconscious mind controls 95% of your behavior. It's running scripts installed over years, scripts you didn't consciously choose. Mental coding is your chance to overwrite those scripts with intention. Use a process called intention anchoring. Pick a phrase that encapsulates your desired identity. Anchor it with physical movement, clenching your fist, tapping your chest, standing tall. Say the phrase out loud while activating the anchor. Repeat it during emotional peaks, after workouts, deep breath work, or moments of gratitude. This links the new code to your physiology. And once the body gets involved, change accelerates. Now here's what to expect. At first, the code may feel artificial. That's normal. It's not familiar yet, but keep going. Repetition builds recognition. And as the code becomes more real than the old script, something shifts. You stop trying to manifest. You are the manifestation. You're no longer asking reality to deliver something different. You are the version of yourself that naturally receives different results. Your conversations change. Your posture changes. Your perception shifts. And your external world catches up to match your internal software. Let's end with this. You are already coding your reality. Every thought is a command. Every emotion is a directive. Every reaction is a line of script. The only question is, are you coding by design or by default? Manifestation is not about controlling life. It's about becoming so aligned with your desired reality that life reflects it effortlessly. When your mind, heart, and body speak the same language, the field listens. And when the field listens, you don't chase success. You signal it, and it responds. Now that you know how to program your mind and signal your desires with precision, it's time to understand how to make these changes last. Because true genius doesn't come from flashes of insight. It comes from consistency. That's what we explore next. Your brain is not a finished product. It's a living, adaptable network. A structure that reshapes itself in response to how you think, how you feel, and how you behave. This phenomenon is called neuroplasticity, and it's not theoretical. It's the mechanism behind every breakthrough, habit, transformation, and insight you've ever experienced. And once you understand how to use neuroplasticity with precision, you unlock the real path to sustainable genius. Let's define genius clearly. It's not about IQ. It's not about knowing more than everyone else. Genius is the ability to think in elevated patterns, to perceive what others miss, to connect ideas fluidly, solve problems creatively, and act from clarity under pressure. But here's the truth. Genius is not innate. It's trained. It's encoded. And it's repeatable. Neuroplasticity is the biological process that makes this possible. It refers to your brain's ability to create, strengthen, weaken, or eliminate neural connections based on what you repeatedly think and do. Every time you learn something new, your neurons fire in new sequences. Every time you repeat that learning, those sequences become faster, more efficient, more automatic. Eventually, they become your default, your new normal. This is how habits form. This is how talents grow. This is how genius is wired. But here's what most people miss. Plasticity doesn't care what you're wiring. Whether it's genius-level insight or self-doubt, creativity or fear, action or avoidance, whatever you repeat, your brain will build. So the question becomes, what loops are you reinforcing? The average person lives in reactive loops. Thought patterns tied to past experiences. Emotional responses tied to outdated beliefs. Behavioral routines that maintain survival but block evolution. Genius requires new loops, not just random change, but intentional design. This is where the genius loop comes in. It's a pattern of action, reflection, reinforcement, and elevation. It's the cycle your brain enters when you're growing at an accelerated rate, while maintaining stability and coherence. Let's break down the genius loop into 4 core stages. 1. Insight activation. You expose your brain to new models, ideas, or questions that challenge your current understanding. Insight is the spark that opens the door, but on its own, insight fades. It must be acted upon. 2. Pattern disruption. You interrupt old neural routines by doing something unfamiliar. This could be as small as changing a morning habit or as large as making a bold decision. Disruption is the signal to the brain. Something new is required. 3. Reinforcement through repetition. Once the new behavior, thought, or skill is introduced, you repeat it not mindlessly but mindfully. The goal is precision. With each repetition, your brain strengthens the connection. Neurons that fire together wire together. 4. Integration and elevation. The new pattern becomes stable. You don't need to force it. It becomes the new default. From that new baseline, you repeat the cycle, this time from a higher level of insight. The key is this: genius isn't built by giant leaps. It's built by stacking microscopic improvements, layered through neuroplasticity, until your brain operates in fundamentally different ways. But this only happens when you consistently create the right conditions. Here's how to accelerate your genius loop. Create novelty. Your brain thrives on stimulation that's just beyond your current comfort zone. Learn new skills. Ask different questions. Put yourself in environments where you're not the smartest person in the room. B. Combine intensity and emotion. Neuroplasticity is triggered by two things: focused attention and emotional engagement. When you care deeply about what you're learning or creating, your brain encodes it more rapidly. C. Eliminate competing patterns. You can't rewire the mind while reinforcing the old script. Identify the behaviors, media, conversations, and habits that maintain your current level. Phase them out. Your environment must support your elevation. D. Embrace friction, confusion, frustration, resistance. These are not signs of failure. They are signs that your brain is attempting to install a new framework. Stay with the process. Push through the noise. E. Ritualize your input. What you expose your mind to repeatedly becomes part of your circuitry. Surround yourself with high-quality information. Teach what you learn. Reflect on what you practice. Make input intentional. There's also a timing component. Neuroplasticity is highest during specific windows: early childhood, after trauma, during transitions, and most importantly, when you enter altered brainwave states. These include meditation, flow states, and deep focus. When you enter theta or gamma, your brain becomes hyperreceptive. That's when rewiring accelerates. So if you want to install a new belief, behavior, or skill, don't just do it randomly. Pair it with brainwave entrainment, breathwork, or focused visualization. Now let's talk about identity. Your brain doesn't just wire actions, it wires who you think you are. Every self-concept you hold is stored in neural loops. I'm not creative. I overthink everything. I'm bad with numbers. These are not traits. They're programs, ones that can be overwritten. To create a genius-level identity, you must feed your brain a new loop. I learn quickly. I adapt to challenges. I see connections others don't. I trust my insights. Then prove that loop with microactions. One small behavior repeated with intention is enough to destabilize the old code and install the new. Let's be clear, this is not instant. It's daily work. But it compounds. And that compounding is where genius is born. You start to notice ideas arriving faster. Mental clarity becomes effortless. You solve problems sideways, finding unconventional paths others miss. You feel less noise, less doubt, more certainty, more signal. This isn't ego. It's neural efficiency. You've trained your brain to think at a higher level. And here's what's even more exciting. Once this loop becomes normal, your life becomes the training ground. Every experience is data. Every challenge is an opportunity to refine your code. Every conversation becomes a platform for insight. You no longer seek growth. You are growth. Your nervous system becomes wired for evolution. Your identity becomes fluid. And your perception sharpens to the point where insight becomes instinct. This is the real meaning of inner genius. It's not a gift. It's a pattern, a repeatable loop, built by choice, reinforced by action, powered by coherence. And now that you understand how to build genius from the inside out, you're ready to make contact with someone who holds all the answers you're looking for. That someone is your future self. That's what we explore next. You are not bound by time, not in the way you've been taught. Your future is not something you move toward slowly. It's something that exists right now as a frequency, as a version of you that already knows the answers you're trying to figure out. The most direct way to accelerate change isn't by fixing the past. It's by connecting to the future self that already embodies the traits, knowledge, and energy you've been working to develop. This is not abstract. It's neurological, and it's one of the most powerful tools for rewiring identity ever discovered. Let's break it down. Your brain is constantly constructing a model of self. That model is shaped by memory, environment, belief, and emotional conditioning. But here's the truth. That model is flexible. Your mind doesn't care when something happened. It only cares how often and how intensely it's reinforced. This means that a vivid experience of your future self, felt strongly, rehearsed frequently and aligned with emotion, can create new neural pathways faster than years of passive repetition. In other words, your brain will begin to install the future identity as if it's already real. You stop striving. You start syncing. This is the future self technique, a mental and emotional protocol designed to create direct contact between your present mind and your quantum potential. Let's make this clear. You are not imagining a better version of yourself. You are establishing a neural relationship with a version of you that already exists in the quantum field. That version isn't fantasy. It's a neurological possibility. And when you connect to it with clarity and emotion, you create a two-way bridge. Insights travel across that bridge. So do instincts, confidence, strategy, and most importantly, alignment. Here's how the process works. Step 1. Prepare the mind. Before you begin, bring your brain into a receptive state. Close your eyes. Slow your breathing. Use deep inhalations and long exhalations to shift into alpha or theta brainwaves. Let the outer world fade. Allow your awareness to settle inward. Step 2. Call in the future self. Now imagine a specific version of you, one that exists 3, 5, or even 10 years ahead. This version has already integrated the lessons you're currently learning, already built the habits you're struggling with, already stepped into the energy you're practicing. Visualize them in full clarity. What are they wearing? How do they carry themselves? What's the expression on their face? How do they move through space? The more sensory input you include, the stronger the neural signature becomes. Step 3. Feel the frequency. Don't just see them, feel as them. Step into their body. Breathe with their lungs. Stand with their spine. See through their eyes. Feel their certainty, their calm, their presence. Let your nervous system register this identity as familiar, not far away. This is the most important step. It's what rewires the emotional baseline. Step 4. Exchange information. Now speak with them. Ask questions. Listen for answers. You may receive words, images, sensations, or silence. Trust what arises. Your future self doesn't answer in the language of logic. It speaks through resonance. Ask, what did you stop doing to become this version of you? What daily habit made the biggest difference? What mindset do you now hold about this problem I'm facing? Write down whatever comes, even fragments. These responses may not make full sense now, but your subconscious will begin decoding them. Step 5. Anchor the shift. As you return to your current awareness, carry a physical anchor with you. It could be a hand gesture, a word, or a breathing pattern. Use this anchor daily to reconnect with the energy of your future self. The goal is to create immediate access. Because here's the key. This is not a one-time visualization. It's a relationship. The more you engage with your future self, the stronger the neural bridge becomes. Over time, your choices begin to reflect their wisdom. Your energy begins to match their confidence. Your perception shifts from effort to embodiment. Let's talk about why this works. Your brain doesn't distinguish between real and vividly imagined experience. That's been proven by neuroscience again and again. Functional MRIs show that imagined scenarios activate the same regions of the brain as real ones. So when you vividly embody your future self, your brain rewires as if the transformation has already happened. Your posture changes. Your tone of voice changes. Your emotional baseline shifts. You begin to expect the results your future self already enjoys. That expectation becomes a new signal, and the quantum field begins to reflect it. This is how you collapse time. You don't have to wait 10 years to become that version of you. You can begin installing their traits now by syncing with their state. The field doesn't respond to your calendar. It responds to your coherence. And when the coherence is strong, the results arrive faster, smoother, with less resistance. Here's what to expect. You may begin making decisions that surprise you, saying no to things your old self would have clung to, saying yes to opportunities that once felt intimidating. That's the signal. The shift is working. You'll feel familiar with things you've never done, comfortable in spaces you've never occupied. People may even reflect it to you, commenting on your energy, your presence, your clarity. This is not a coincidence. It's neurological alignment. You've made your future self safe for your nervous system, and once it feels safe, it becomes real. Let's address one final piece. Most people are stuck in loops not because they lack knowledge, but because they're loyal to outdated versions of themselves. They keep reinforcing the past because they don't have a model for the future. They keep referencing who they were instead of who they're becoming. The future self technique breaks that loop. It gives your brain and body a new model to follow, one that's empowering, expansive, and energetically aligned. Not someday, but now. This is how leaders are made, how artists create, how entrepreneurs innovate. They live from the memory of the future, not the memory of the past. They download their own potential and bring it into the present moment through repetition, clarity, and action. And so can you. The future version of you is not waiting. They are available. And the more you tune in, the more real they become. You don't have to wait for proof. You are the proof. And now that you've built the bridge to your future self, it's time to learn how to live in alignment with that identity every single day, through rituals, habits, and an energy signature that never fades. That's where we go next. You've learned the structure. You've practiced the techniques. You've shifted your identity. But the real transformation, the one that lasts, happens when this isn't something you do occasionally. It becomes who you are. This is where everything you've explored converges into a new way of living. A way of being where intention, energy, thought, and action are aligned in a steady, elevated state. This is what it means to live the quantum life. Let's ground this. The quantum life is not about perfection. It's not about staying high vibe every second of the day. It's about coherence, consistently returning to alignment faster, with more awareness, and with greater emotional control. It's not about bypassing problems. It's about navigating reality from a higher level of consciousness. At its core, living the quantum life means three things. 1. You recognize yourself as the signal. You don't wait for the world to shift first. You lead with frequency. You understand that your thoughts, emotions, and actions are not just reactions, they're generators. And that means you take responsibility for the energy you bring to every moment. 2. You design your state before you engage with the world. Instead of waking up and reacting to notifications, headlines, or stress, you establish your frequency first. You set your internal climate so that the external environment doesn't control you. You start each day consciously tuned to your desired identity. 3. You stay grounded in elevated identity. You don't act based on old scripts. You act based on your upgraded code. The decisions you make, the people you engage with, the opportunities you say yes or no to, they're all chosen by the version of you that's aligned with your future. Let's make this practical. You need a system. You need rituals that reinforce your new way of being, not occasionally, but consistently. Here's a foundational daily structure that supports quantum alignment. Morning ritual, frequency calibration, 20 to 30 minutes. Stillness, begin with silence or breath work. Create a gap before thought floods in. Reset the nervous system, future self-connection. Visualize the identity you're living into, not as fantasy but as a daily download. Feel their confidence. Feel their clarity. Feel their calm. The mental coding. Speak your primary intention or identity anchor aloud. Say it with conviction. Align your posture and breath to match. A gratitude activation. Feel gratitude for what is and for what's coming. This shifts your state into receptivity. It stabilizes the signal. Midday alignment, coherence check-in, 2 to 5 minutes. Take a pause during your day. Ask, what signal am I broadcasting right now? If it's anxiety, frustration, or doubt, reset. Use breath. Use music. Use motion. Recenter the frequency. Say your identity anchor or intention again. Reclaim the signal. Evening ritual, integration, and feedback, 10 to 15 minutes. Reflect on your day from the lens of your quantum identity. What decisions aligned? What moments felt off? No judgment, just observation. Visualize your future self reviewing the day with you. Receive insight. Reaffirm your identity before sleep. Sleep is a neural reset. What you focus on last carries into subconscious processing. This rhythm is not about control. It's about stability. It's how you maintain coherence in a world full of noise. Because the quantum life is not lived in the peaks. It's lived in the in-between moments, in the way you respond to pressure, in the way you reset after chaos, in the way you speak when no one's watching. That's where alignment becomes power. Now let's talk about energy management. Your energy is your currency in the quantum field. The more stable it is, the more precise your signal. The more elevated it is, the more magnetic your presence. So be ruthless about what drains you, what fragments your focus, what dulls your awareness. Limit exposure to low-frequency media. Be intentional about your social circle. Energy is contagious. Design your environment to reflect clarity and expansion. Move your body daily, not for fitness but to keep the signal clear. And most importantly, honor your cycles. There will be days when you feel off. That doesn't mean the system isn't working. It means you're human. The quantum life doesn't ask you to suppress. It asks you to observe, reset, and realign without shame or panic. When you live this way long enough, something begins to shift permanently. Your intuition sharpens. Your decisions simplify. Your presence deepens. People feel it. Circumstances align. Resources show up. Not because you forced them, but because you became compatible with them. This is how you move from force to flow, from control to calibration, from effort to embodiment. Here's what that looks like in practice. You stop chasing outcomes. You start generating states. Or you stop reacting to setbacks. You start reading them as feedback. You stop trying to prove who you are. You start radiating who you've become. And this becomes your new normal. The quantum life is not a trend. It's not a burst of inspiration. It's a conscious commitment to live as the highest expression of who you are, regardless of what the world is doing. It's mastery over your state, clarity of your signal, coherence in your body, your mind, and your field. And the best part? This path has no ceiling. Each new identity you live into becomes the platform for the next. There's always another version of you, wiser, calmer, clearer, waiting to be embodied. So if you're wondering where to go from here, the answer is stay consistent. Stay committed to the signal. Return to the vision. Every morning, every night, every time you're tested. Because you are not here to repeat. You are here to rewire. You are not here to survive. You are here to transmit. You are not waiting for genius to strike. You are living as the source of it. That's the quantum life. And it's yours now.